In our previous video, we covered up to and including the data entry variables. Let's now continue on with the list box. I call the list box function. I tell it to put itself into the root window. Height is 9, width is 50. Anything you put into this list box, the font will be Arial 24 bold. Then I tell the system to assign that to LB1. LB1 is then told to put itself into the grid at row 4, column 1. Give it a row span of 9 and a column span of 2. Row span will let this item span more than one row. Column span will let it span more than one column. The next thing I do is I tell the scroll bar function to put itself into the root window. Assign that to SB. Then I tell SB to put itself into the grid at row equals 4 and column equals 5. Next I assign SB's set method so that it will call the scroll command of listbox 1 whenever there's a change, specifically the Y scroll command whenever there's a change. I'm telling listbox 1 to configure itself this way. Next, SB, the scroll bar, needs to configure himself in this way. Go to listbox 1's YView method and assign that to the command to be executed whenever anybody clicks on the scroll bar. This ensures that the two will be updating each other. Next we scroll down to the bind function. Whenever the user selects something in the list box, listbox 1, you are to bind that selection to the GDR function which we have defined above. This way GDR function will know about whatever has been selected in the list box. Next we come to the buttons section. I tell the button function to put itself into the root window. Text on it will be Q&A records. The width will be 10 units. And the command I want it to execute as soon as somebody clicks on it is the view under command. That is a function that I've defined up above. We'll go there in just one moment. Then I assign it to B1. I immediately tell B1 to put itself into the grid at row 0 and column 0. As soon as somebody clicks on this button, all the records will be put from that database table into here, this list box. Let's do that now. And there they are. Let's go to the view under command and see how that was done. Well, towards the top of the program, I find the definition for the view under command. Very simple, it has 4 rows. Let's take a look at it, see how this works. Here I've magnified the function so that we can see it more clearly. I define the function called view under command parens colon. I tell the list box to delete everything out of the list box from the beginning to the end. Well, what does that do? It blanks it out. Now I have an empty list box. Immediately I fall into a for loop. Well, let's see what this for loop does. For each row in, and then it makes a function call. It says, go and execute the view function that is in the ZBE file, Z backend file. There's a view function there. I'd like you to go and execute it. Where is it again? It's in this file. Go grab that file, open it up, find this function, execute it. It's going to return a value. What value? What it's going to return will substitute right in here. It'll get rid of these words and it'll substitute something in here. Really? What will it substitute in? Something like this. A structure with records in it. A whole bunch of records. All the records in our database table. It's going to return this. That's what ZBE.view function is going to do. It's going to return this. Then our for loop will continue for each row in, and it grabs the first one over here. That is the first record. And it puts that data into the variable row. For each row in this thing here with all our records, it grabs the first record. This is what I want you to do. Go and insert that row into the list box 1. Where? At the end. Then he jumps up here for each row in, and he goes to the next record. He grabs this one, jumps down to the next line, and inserts that row into the end of list box 1. Jumps back up here, goes and grabs the next record, and continues to repeat this process till he gets to the end. And when he gets to the end, he's going to stop. And when he stops, your list box is filled with records, like so. What we have to do now is go to the zbe.py file and find that function called view and take a look at it. Let's go there now. So let me make this a bit larger now. And there's the definition of the view function within the ZBE file. Let's move this up so we can see it all. I've wrapped this around from this end only so that you can see it more clearly. And I did the same thing with this, so it doesn't go off the screen and you have to scroll to see it, and you have to scroll to see it. And just put it right here. I'll return that back to its original position in just a moment. The first thing it does is as follows. It tells SQLite 3 to connect to this database, and then assign all of that to the variable con. Once that's done, con is told to create the cursor, which is a set of records that are placed into a scratchpad type structure. System uses it. Whenever you do a query, all those records are placed into a cursor. Con is told to make a cursor. Cursor control and management will be turned over to the variable cur. Cur is then told to execute the following SQL command. Select everything from out of the Q table. That's the table within your database called questions.db. So he does all of that, grabs all the records, and he puts all of them inside the cursor. Next line. Cur management variable now goes in and fetches all of those commands inside the cursor, and he assigns all of them to a variable called rows. So all of your records are now in the rows variable. The connection is then told to close itself, and the system returns the rows variable. That's this one, the one that now has all of your records in it. Now let's go back to ZFE and find out what the system does with rows. The system now returns back to here zbe.view parens in the ZFE file and replaces zbe.view with the variable rows, like so. And as explained before, it then goes in and row by row inserts each row into the list box, and it keeps doing this on and on and on up until it gets to the end of the data. And of course, again, this is the result. Here's the before, and here's the after when I click on Q&A Recs. All the records go in. We'll stop here and continue on with the next button in the next video. If you find these videos helpful and useful, please take out the time to share and like. This is George Bull. I wish you lots of luck. Bye-bye now.